In the spring of 2021, Zillow had a problem. A really expensive problem. Their algorithm, the artificial intelligence system they'd spent years developing and hundreds of millions of dollars perfecting, had developed an unfortunate habit. It was buying houses. Lots of houses. Thousands of houses. Houses in Phoenix. Houses in Atlanta. Houses in Dallas. The algorithm was on an absolute shopping spree, purchasing homes at a pace that would make a lottery winner look financially responsible. There was just one tiny issue. The algorithm had no idea what these houses were actually worth. It was overpaying, massively, consistently, catastrophically, like a drunk billionaire at an auction who forgot to check his bank balance. By November 2021, just 90 days after they realized something was wrong, Zillow had lost over $500 million, fired 25% of their workforce, 2,000 people, shut down their entire home buying operation, watched their stock price crater by 30% in a single week, gotten stuck holding 7,000 houses they overpaid for. This is the story of what happens when a tech company decides that buying and selling houses, the single largest purchase most people ever make, can be automated by an algorithm. Spoiler alert, it cannot. This is the story of iBuying, a concept so fundamentally flawed that it makes cryptocurrency look like a stable investment. This is the story of how Silicon Valley's move fast and break things mentality crashed headfirst into the immovable object known as reality. And most importantly, this is a story about why you should never, ever trust a robot to understand something as deeply irrational and human as the housing market. Let's talk about how Zillow, a company that revolutionized real estate by providing information, nearly destroyed itself by deciding that information wasn't enough. They wanted to be the market, and the market ate them alive.
Before we get to the spectacular implosion, let's talk about who Zillow actually is and why this failure is so deliciously ironic. Zillow was founded in 2006 by Rich Barton and Lloyd Frink, two former Microsoft executives who looked at the real estate industry and thought, this is insane. Why is house price information hidden behind real estate agents? Why can't normal people just see what houses are worth? So they created Zillow, a website where you could look up any house and see its estimated value. They called this the Zestimate, which is a portmanteau that should have been a warning sign about the company's relationship with reality. And it was revolutionary. Suddenly, you could see what your neighbor's house was worth. You could see what your own house was worth. You could waste hours of your life looking up celebrity mansions and crying about your own financial situation. Zillow became massive. 36 million unique monthly users by 2012, over 110 million homes in their database, the most popular real estate website in America. A verb, like Google, I Zillow the house. Their business model was beautifully simple. They gave away information for free, attracted millions of users, then sold advertising and leads to real estate agents. Agents paid Zillow for connections to buyers and sellers. Everyone won. They went public in 2011. The stock soared. Rich Barton became a billionaire. Life was good. But here's the thing about tech companies. They can never just be satisfied with a profitable, sustainable business model. They always need to disrupt more, grow faster, capture more value. And Zillow looked at the real estate transaction and thought, we're giving away all this information, helping people buy houses, and real estate agents are making 5 to 6% commission on every sale. Why are they getting the money? Why can't we be the ones buying and selling houses? This is the thought that destroyed them.
The concept they landed on was called iBuying, which
yes, was absolutely inspired by Apple's naming convention, because nothing says we're a serious real estate company like branding that makes you think of smartphones. Here's how iBuying was supposed to work. Traditional home sale. Seller hires agent. Agent lists house. Buyers tour house over weeks, months. Negotiations, inspections, financing delays. Transaction finally closes after 30 to 90 days. Real estate agents take 5 to 6% commission. iBuying model is like this. Seller submits house info online. Algorithm instantly analyzes house and makes cash offer. Seller accepts. Zillow owns house. Zillow does minor repairs. Zillow relists house at higher price. Zillow sells to buyer. Zillow keeps the profit. The pitch was compelling. Sellers get instant cash offers. No waiting, no uncertainty. Close in days instead of months. Certainty of sale. Fair algorithmic pricing. No haggling. From Zillow's perspective, it was even better. Cut out the middleman, real estate agents, capture that juicy 5 to 6% commission for themselves, use their superior data and algorithms to identify underpriced homes, flip houses at scale using technology, create a massive new revenue stream. Zillow wasn't alone. Other companies had the same idea. Opendoor, the pioneer, founded 2014, OfferPad, Redfin Now from Zillow's main competitor, and Knock. The market loved this idea. Investors threw billions at iBuying companies. Opendoor went public via SPAC with a $4.8 billion valuation. Zillow announced their iBuying program, called Zillow Offers, in 2018. The tech industry was convinced they'd figured out real estate. All those old-school realtors with their local knowledge and experience, obsolete. The algorithm knew better. There was just one teeny tiny problem with this entire concept. Houses aren't iPhones. The real estate market isn't Amazon. And algorithms, no matter how sophisticated, can't predict the completely irrational, deeply emotional, utterly unpredictable human behavior that determines what someone will actually pay for a house. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the algorithm. Minus minimal repairs and holding costs. Now multiply that by hundreds or thousands of houses. Do this at massive scale with algorithmic efficiency, and you've got a money printing machine. At least that's what the Excel spreadsheet said. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, just everything. Zillow Offers launched in Phoenix in April 2018. Initially, it was fine. The algorithm seemed to work. Houses were bought, lightly renovated, resold. Profits were marginal, but they existed. Emboldened, Zillow expanded aggressively. 2018, Phoenix. 2019, Las Vegas, Dallas, Atlanta, Denver, Charlotte, Nashville. 2020, despite COVID, they kept expanding. 2021, 25 markets across the US. By mid-2021, Zillow was buying over 3,000 houses a month. They were spending $6 billion annually on home purchases. This wasn't a pilot program anymore. This was a bet-the-company operation. But something weird was happening in the housing market. COVID had broken the normal rules. Work from home meant people could live anywhere. Interest rates dropped to historic lows. Millennials who'd been priced out suddenly had down payments. Inventory dropped to record lows. Houses that should have sold for $300K were getting 15 offers and selling for $350K. Markets that should have been stable were appreciating 20% year over year. Normal patterns were meaningless. And Zillow's algorithm, trained on historical data and normal market conditions, started struggling. Real example from Phoenix, March 2021. Zillow algorithm, house worth $365,000. Zillow's offer, $365,000. Actual market value, $320,000. Zillow's eventual sale price, $303,000. Loss, $62,000 on one house. Atlanta, April 2021. Bought for $410,000, sold for $353,000. Loss $57,000. Dallas, May 2021. Bought for $485,000, sold for $428,000. Loss $57,000. This wasn't occasional bad luck, this was systematic overpaying. The algorithm wasn't making mistakes on the margins, it was fundamentally misunderstanding the market. By June 2021, internal alarm bells were ringing. Zillow executives could see they were hemorrhaging money, but they faced a classic sunk cost dilemma. Option A, admit the algorithm is broken, pause buying, fix the model, accept losses on current inventory. Option B, keep buying, assume the market will correct, hope you can sell your way out of trouble. They chose option B, because of course they did. In July 2021, they increased their buying. They purchased over 3,800 homes that month, their highest monthly total ever. CEO Rich Barton on the Q2 2021 earnings call, "We see significant opportunity ahead in Zillow offers." The stock was trading at $120 per share. Investors believed the algorithm would figure it out. This was just growing pains. Buy the dip. They had 90 days before everything fell apart. Let me walk you through what those 90 days looked like. A slow-motion train wreck where everyone involved could see the crash coming but couldn't stop the momentum. July 2021, peak delusion. Zillow buys 3,814 homes, record high. Inventory on books, 9,790 homes. Declared value, $3.2 billion. Actual problem, algorithm is overpaying by 5 to 10% on average. Internal forecast, it'll correct. But here's what was actually happening in the market. The COVID housing boom was ending. The feeding frenzy was cooling. Those 15 offer bidding wars were dropping to 5 offers. Houses were sitting on the market longer. The market Zillow's algorithm was predicting had already changed by the time they were buying in it. August 2021, the situation worsens. Zillow buys 2,940 homes, still catastrophically high. Inventory balloons to 10,315 homes. Houses sitting longer than expected. Losses accelerating on resales. Algorithm not learning from mistakes. Here's the thing about machine learning. It learns from feedback. You make a prediction, you see the result, the model adjusts. But Zillow's feedback loop was slow. They'd buy a house in August, spend weeks doing repairs, list it in September, maybe get an offer in October, close in November. By the time they knew they'd overpaid, they'd already bought 500 more houses using the same broken model. September 2021, oh no. Zillow's still buying aggressively, though slowing. Inventory peaks at 16,750 homes. Unsold inventory value, $5.7 billion. Internal analysis, they're sitting on $500 million in losses. Public statement, everything is fine. Zillow PR, September 15th, 2021. We remain confident in our Zillow offers business and the value it provides to customers. Reality, September 15th, 2021. The company was now the second largest holder of home inventory in America after the federal government. They owned more houses than most regional home builders, and they'd overpaid for basically all of them. October 2021, the breaking point. Zillow stops buying new homes, October 18th. Reason given, operational capacity constraints. Actual reason, complete algorithmic failure. Stock drops 10% on the news. Analysts start asking uncomfortable questions. Internal calculations were damning. Current inventory, 7,000 plus homes. Average overpayment, 7 to 8%. Average home value, $400,000. Math, 7,000 times 400K times 7.5% equals $210 million in immediate losses. And that's before accounting for carrying costs, repairs, and selling fees. The actual situation was worse. They were looking at $500 million in losses. On November 2, 2021, Zillow made the announcement that would define the company's biggest failure. Zillow was shutting down Zillow offers completely. Effective immediately, the entire home buying operation was over. The damage: $500+ million in losses. Reported losses, actual might be higher. 25% of workforce laid off, 2,000 people losing jobs. 7,000 homes to liquidate, a fire sale in slow motion. Stock price crashed 30% in 2 trading days. $5+ billion in market cap evaporated instantly. Rich Barton on the earnings call: "We've determined the unpredictability in forecasting home prices far exceeds what we anticipated." Translation: "Our algorithm doesn't work, never worked, and we just spent $5 billion learning that real estate is hard." The market reaction was brutal. Stock analysts who'd been bullish suddenly turned. Bank of America, downgrade to neutral. Wedbush, significant execution concerns. Susquehanna, price target cut to $65 from $145. The stock that had been $200 plus in early 2021 was now trading at $60. Twitter and Reddit had a field day. Zillow's algorithm walked into a casino, bet on red 7,000 times in a row, and somehow always lost. Turns out you can't just YOLO into real estate with venture capital and vibes. Imagine having access to the most data ever assembled about real estate and still managing to buy high and sell low. And real estate agents, they were vindicated. The tech industry had spent years calling them obsolete dinosaurs who would be replaced by algorithms. Turns out local knowledge, human intuition, and understanding irrational buyer psychology actually matter. Who knew? Okay, so we know that it failed. Let's talk about why it failed, because the reasons are actually fascinating and have nothing to do with the algorithm being dumb. The algorithm was sophisticated. The problem was that the task was impossible. Reason number 1, houses are not commodities. When Amazon sells a book, every copy of that book is identical. Same content, same condition, same value. Pricing is straightforward. Houses are the opposite of commodities. Even in cookie-cutter subdivisions where houses look identical, they're not. One house has a weird smell you can't source. One has a view of the neighbor's trampoline. One has a tree that drops leaves in the pool. One has that one room with the weird energy. One has the nice neighbors. One has the HOA president from hell. And then there are the emotional factors algorithms can't possibly quantify. This was my dream house as a kid. The kitchen reminds me of my grandmother's. I can imagine my kids playing in that backyard. The vibes are immaculate. This house just feels right. Studies show that in the same neighborhood, on the same street, houses with identical specs can sell for 10 to 15% price differences based purely on intangible factors. Zillow's algorithm couldn't account for intangibles. It was designed for quantifiable data, so it missed the entire human element of home buying. Reason number 2, the data lag problem. Real estate data is slow. Here's the actual timeline. Day 1, house sells. Day 30 to 60, sale officially closes. Day 60 to 90, sale recorded in county records. Day 90 to 120, data appears in MLS systems. Day 120 to 150, data aggregated and cleaned. Day 150 to 180, data available to algorithms. Zillow's algorithm was making 2021 buying decisions based on 2020 market data. In a normal market, that's fine. In the COVID housing boom, where prices were changing 2 to 3% per month, that's catastrophic. They were essentially driving by looking in the rearview mirror. The algorithm would say, based on recent sales, this house is worth $400K, when the market had already moved to $420K or dropped to $380K. Reason number 3, the prediction problem, the real killer. Here's the fatal flaw. Zillow needed to predict 2 different numbers. Purchase price, what should we offer the seller today? Resale price, what will a buyer pay 60 to 90 days from now? The gap between these numbers determines profit or loss, and that gap depends on predicting the future market, not the current market.
Predicting short-term real estate price movements is notoriously difficult, even for experts. Why? Inventory is hyperlocal and changes rapidly. Interest rates affect affordability immediately. Buyer psychology shifts based on news and sentiment. Supply disruptions, lumber prices, labor affect timelines. Competing listings change the landscape daily. There's a reason economists say short-term price movements are essentially a random walk. They're chaotic and unpredictable. Zillow's algorithm was trying to consistently predict the random walk. That's like trying to predict lottery numbers based on previous lottery numbers. The pattern you think you see doesn't exist. Reason number 4, the principal agent problem. When Zillow offered to buy houses, they created a selection bias problem. Who accepts an instant algorithmic offer? People whose houses are actually worth less than the offer, people who know their house has hidden problems, people who don't want to go through traditional sales, red flag, people who couldn't sell at the price they wanted. This is called adverse selection. Zillow's algorithm made offers based on average houses, but it attracted below average houses. The sellers had more information about their houses than the algorithm did. They were essentially playing poker against people who could see their cards. Reason number 5, the scale trap. Traditional house flippers buy 1 to 5 houses at a time, personally inspect each property, make buying decisions based on local knowledge, can walk away from bad deals, flexibility to adjust strategy quickly. Zillow's algorithmic approach, buying 3,000 plus houses per month. No personal inspection, the algorithm decides. Buying in 25 markets simultaneously. Committed to purchase contracts before seeing problems. Slow to adjust, organizational inertia. The bigger they scaled, the worse their feedback loops became. When you're buying thousands of houses, you can't learn from individual mistakes fast enough to fix systematic errors. They built a machine designed for scale, then discovered the process doesn't scale.
But wait, it gets worse. The failure of Zillow offers created a cascade of second-order effects that turned a bad situation into a complete disaster. Effect number 1, the fire sale. Zillow owned 7,000 houses they needed to unload. Fast. They started selling at significant discounts just to get them off the books. This created a new problem. When you dump 7,000 houses onto the market in 25 cities simultaneously, you depress prices in those markets. You become a motivated seller that buyers can lowball. Examples from late 2021, early 2022. Phoenix House. Zillow paid $420,000. October 2021. Zillow listed $405,000. December 2021. Zillow sold $385,000, February 2022. Total loss, $35,000 plus carrying costs. Atlanta House. Zillow paid $365,000. Repairs, $15,000. Zillow sold $348,000. Total loss, $32,000. Multiply these losses across 7,000 homes and you start to understand how the losses exceeded $500 million. Effect number 2, the organizational trauma. Remember, 2,000 people lost their jobs, not because they failed, because the algorithm failed. These weren't tech bros who'd moved to another startup. Many were property inspectors, renovation coordinators, photographers, customer service reps, warehouse and logistics people. They'd joined Zillow believing in the mission, relocated to expansion markets, bought houses themselves, probably using Zillow's own data, and then got laid off with 2 weeks severance. The LinkedIn posts were devastating. After relocating my family to Phoenix for Zillow offers, I was let go with 14 days notice. The algorithm failed. I paid the price. Effect number 3, the contagion effect. Zillow's failure didn't just hurt Zillow, it hurt the entire iBuying industry. Opendoor stock dropped 40% after Zillow's announcement. OfferPad down 35%. Redfin, which had its own Redfin Now, down 20%. Investors suddenly realized if Zillow, with the most data, the best brand, and the most resources, couldn't make iBuying work, maybe iBuying just doesn't work. The entire automated real estate thesis got reassessed. Billions in market value evaporated across the sector. Effect number 4, the reputation damage. Here's the truly damaging part. Zillow's core business was providing information. Their entire value proposition was, trust our data. But if their algorithm was so wrong that it lost $500 million in 90 days, how accurate is their estimate? If they couldn't even predict prices for homes they were actually buying and had fully inspected, why should anyone trust their estimates for homes they've never seen? Consumer surveys after the Zillow offers collapse showed a 30% decrease in trust in Zillow's home value estimates. Their core product's credibility took a hit because their expansion product failed. Effect number 5, the market distortion. In the markets where Zillow was most active, their buying and then selling spree actually distorted local housing data. Phoenix 2021. Zillow was buying 15 to 20% of all transactions in some neighborhoods. Their overpaying set false comps, or comparable sales. Other sellers expected similar high prices. When Zillow stopped buying, demand disappeared. Prices corrected downward. Normal buyers and sellers got caught in the whipsaw. Zillow artificially inflated markets with algorithmic overpaying, then crashed those same markets with panic selling. They created a miniature bubble and burst cycle in less than a year. Real homeowners who bought during Zillow's buying spree suddenly found themselves underwater when the correction happened. They made life decisions based on a market Zillow was artificially manipulating.
So Zillow lost $500 million, fired 2,000 people, and became a cautionary tale. Why should you care? Because this isn't really a story about real estate. This is a story about the limits of algorithmic decision-making, and those limits matter for everything. Lesson number 1. AI can't predict the unpredictable. We're living through an AI hype cycle right now. ChatGPT, Claude, Midjourney, autonomous vehicles, algorithmic trading. There's this pervasive belief that if you just have enough data and computing power, you can predict and optimize anything. Zillow had more real estate data than anyone in history, unlimited computing resources, teams of PhDs and data scientists, years of training data, millions in R&D investment, and they still couldn't predict home prices 60 days out with sufficient accuracy to avoid catastrophic losses. This should make you skeptical about AI claims in other domains. AI will replace doctors. Can it account for patient psychology? AI will replace lawyers. Can it predict jury behavior? AI will replace teachers. Can it adapt to individual learning styles in real time? AI will replace managers. Can it understand office politics? If AI can't handle real estate, a domain with tons of structured data, how is it going to handle domains with less data and more complexity? Lesson number 2. Silicon Valley doesn't understand most industries. Tech has successfully disrupted many industries: retail, Amazon, entertainment, Netflix, Spotify, transportation, Uber, Lyft, communication, smartphones, social media. The pattern: these industries had inefficiencies that technology could solve. Retail had too much overhead. Amazon reduced it. Entertainment had distribution bottlenecks. Streaming solved them. But real estate doesn't have technology-solvable inefficiencies. The inefficiency is that houses are unique, local, emotional purchases that require human judgment. That's not a bug. That's the fundamental nature of the product. Other industries where tech disruption has failed: healthcare, regulatory and liability complexity; education, human interaction is the product; food service, quality and freshness matter; construction, physical world constraints. The common thread? Tech companies assume they can parachute into an industry they don't understand, slap an algorithm on it, and print money. Sometimes that works. Often, as Zillow learned, it doesn't. Lesson number 4. Scale makes problems worse, not better.
Silicon Valley's operating principle is move fast, break things, scale quickly. The idea is that by scaling fast, you achieve unit economics, gather more data, which improves the algorithm, outcompete rivals who move slowly, and become too big to fail. Zillow followed this playbook perfectly. Launched in one city, saw initial success, scaled to 25 markets in 3 years, bought thousands of homes per month. But in real estate, scale made the problem worse. More purchases meant slower feedback, more markets meant less local knowledge, more inventory meant bigger fire sale when it failed, more employees meant bigger layoffs. If Zillow had stayed small, operated in 2 or 3 markets, bought 50 homes per month, and focused on learning rather than scaling, they might have discovered the model didn't work before losing $500 million. The lesson: scale is beneficial when the model is proven, unit economics work, marginal costs decrease with volume, network effects exist. Scale is destructive when the model is unproven, each transaction requires human judgment, feedback loops are slow, complexity increases with volume. Real estate is firmly in the second category. Lesson number 5. Financial incentives distort decision-making. Here's something that didn't get enough attention. Zillow's executives had strong financial incentives to make Zillow offers work regardless of whether it was actually working. Executive compensation was tied to stock price growth, revenue growth, market expansion, and innovation metrics. This created perverse incentives. Admitting failure would tank the stock and their wealth. Pausing buying would show weakness to investors. Scaling up looked like success until it didn't. Sunk cost fallacy was financially motivated. Timeline? June 2021, executives knew there were serious problems. July-August 2021, they accelerated buying. September 2021, they publicly stated everything was fine. October 2021, they quietly stopped buying. November 2021, finally admitted failure. Who lost money? 2,000 laid-off employees, shareholders, stock down 70% from peak, homeowners in affected markets. Who kept their wealth? The executives who sold stock before the collapse, early investors who cashed out, the CEO who stayed on with a severance package. So what happened to iBuying after Zillow's spectacular failure? Plot twist: it didn't die completely. Opendoor, the original iBuying company, is still in business. They scaled back significantly, focused on fewer markets, improved their algorithms, and somehow managed to survive. Their approach? Slower growth, higher service fees, 5 to 8% versus Zillow's 1 to 3%, more conservative pricing, better risk management. Results? They're still losing money in most quarters, but smaller amounts. The company hasn't achieved profitability consistently, but they're surviving. OfferPad similarly scaled back, but continues operating in select markets. Redfin shut down Redfin Now, their iBuying operation, in late 2022. They learned from Zillow's mistakes and exited before losses got catastrophic. What's different about the survivors? Higher fees. They're charging 6 to 8% instead of 2 to 3%, building in margin for error. Slower pace. They're buying hundreds, not thousands of homes. Cherry picking. They're only buying in markets and conditions they understand. Conservative pricing. They'd rather miss a deal than overpay. The total iBuying market is now about 1 to 2% of home sales, down from the projected 10 to 15% that optimists predicted in 2019. It exists, but as a niche service for specific situations, not a revolution that will replace traditional real estate. So was iBuying a complete failure? Not completely. It works as a convenient service for sellers who value speed and certainty over maximizing price. It's essentially an express lane. You pay more in fees or lower offers, but get faster service. What failed was the idea that you could use algorithms to profitably buy and sell houses at scale by outsmarting the market. Economists have a concept called the efficient market hypothesis, the idea that markets quickly incorporate all available information into prices, making it impossible to consistently outperform through information alone. Real estate isn't perfectly efficient, but it's efficient enough that you can't systematically identify underpriced homes with an algorithm. If such an algorithm existed, the market would adjust and the algorithm would stop working. Zillow learned this lesson the expensive way.
Let's check in on the major players and see where they ended up. Rich Barton, CEO. Stayed on as CEO after the Zillow offer's failure. Took responsibility publicly, which is something, I guess. Oversaw massive cost-cutting to restore profitability. Focused Zillow back on its core business, leads and advertising. Personal net worth, still over $2 billion. Lessons learned? Unclear. Zillow stock recovered somewhat, from a low of $50 to around $80, $90 by 2024, but never reached its $200 peak. The company survived, but its reputation as an innovative disruptor took a permanent hit. The 2,000 laid-off employees received severance packages, 2 to 4 months' salary on average. Many found new jobs, but often at lower pay or less desirable roles. Some left the real estate and tech industry entirely. No long-term compensation for being collateral damage in an algorithmic failure. Homeowners in affected markets. Some saw short-term price appreciation from Zillow's overpaying. Those who sold to Zillow at the peak did well. Those who bought during Zillow's manipulation got burned. Market corrections hit hardest in Phoenix, Atlanta, and Las Vegas. Real estate agents. Vindicated in their insistence that local expertise matters. Still facing long-term pressure from technology, but no longer existentially threatened by iBuying. The algorithm builders. Most moved to other tech companies. Put on their built ML models at scale on their resumes, probably don't emphasize the $500 million loss part. Learned valuable lessons about model limitations, hopefully. Let's zoom out and ask the big questions this story raises. Should algorithmic decision-making be trusted with high-stakes outcomes? We're increasingly letting algorithms make decisions that profoundly affect people's lives. Hiring decisions, loan approvals, insurance pricing, medical diagnoses, criminal sentencing, child protective services interventions. Zillow had a relatively simple problem: predict the value of a house. They had perfect data access, unlimited resources, and 3 years of practice. They still failed catastrophically. Now consider, is your hiring algorithm less fallible than Zillow's pricing algorithm? Is the algorithm deciding your loan application more accurate? Is the criminal risk assessment tool predicting recidivism better than Zillow predicted home prices? And when algorithms fail, because they will fail, who's accountable? Who compensates the people harmed? At Zillow, shareholders lost money and employees lost jobs, but the executives who pushed forward despite warning signs faced no consequences. What's the right balance between innovation and caution? On one extreme, move fast and break things. Innovate aggressively, scale quickly, worry about problems later. On the other extreme, first, do no harm. Test thoroughly, scale slowly, prioritize safety over speed. Zillow operated with the move fast mentality in an industry where breaking things meant people losing homes and jobs. Should there have been guardrails? Should iBuying have required regulatory approval before scaling? Should there be mandatory stress testing for algorithmic systems before they can operate at scale? The tech industry generally opposes regulation, arguing it stifles innovation. But Zillow's failure shows the cost of unregulated innovation. Hundreds of millions in losses, thousands of jobs lost, and market distortions affecting thousands of homeowners. Are some problems inherently insoluble by technology? There's a worldview in Silicon Valley called technological solutionism. The belief that every problem can be solved with the right technology. Traffic? Build apps for ride-sharing. Housing shortage? Build algorithms for efficient home buying. Education gaps? Build online learning platforms. But what if some problems are fundamentally resistant to technological solutions? What if housing prices are unpredictable not because we lack data, but because humans are irrational and emotional? What if education requires human connection that can't be replicated by software? What if some forms of expertise, local knowledge, intuitive judgment, contextual understanding, can't be captured in code? Zillow's failure suggests there are limits to technological optimization. Some domains are too complex, too human, too chaotic to be fully algorithmatized. And yet the tech industry hasn't internalized this lesson. The hype cycle continues. Every startup promises to disrupt an industry with machine learning. We're going to see more Zillows, more companies that raise billions, scale aggressively, and discover too late that their algorithm doesn't work in the real world. The pattern? Identify industry perceived as inefficient. Claim technology can optimize it. Raise massive funding. Scale quickly before the model is proven. Discover fundamental problems too late. Massive losses and layoffs. Executives face no consequences. Recent examples following this pattern: WeWork, co-working technology company; Theranos, healthcare innovation; FTX, crypto, future of finance; Fast, one-click checkout that burned through $100 million in 18 months. The cycle continues because venture capital rewards aggressive scaling. Founders are incentivized to believe their own hype. Early success creates momentum that's hard to stop. Admitting fundamental problems crashes valuations. By the time failure is obvious, too much is invested to turn back. Zillow Offers will be remembered as a classic case study in this pattern. It has all the elements: massive capital deployment, sophisticated technology, intelligent people, clear warning signs ignored, catastrophic failure, predictable in hindsight. So here's the bottom line on Zillow's $500 million algorithmic disaster. What they tried to do was replace human judgment in real estate with algorithmic efficiency. Why it seemed plausible? They had more data than anyone in history. Why it failed? Houses aren't commodities, markets aren't predictable, and scale makes problems worse. What it cost was $500+ million in direct losses, 2,000 jobs, billions in market cap, and industry-wide credibility damage. What we learned? Some problems can't be solved by throwing algorithms and venture capital at them. Today, Zillow is back to doing what it does well, providing information and connecting buyers with agents. They're profitable again. The company survived. But they're no longer trying to revolutionize real estate. They're no longer claiming algorithms are better than humans. They're no longer making grandiose promises about the future. They learned a $500 million lesson that can be summarized in one sentence. Just because you can collect data doesn't mean you can predict the future. Zillow tried to automate expertise. They tried to replace human judgment with machine precision. They tried to make the messy, emotional, irrational world of real estate conform to clean mathematical models. The market said no, and it cost them $500 million in 90 days to learn that lesson. The algorithm that was supposed to revolutionize real estate instead became a cautionary tale about the limits of artificial intelligence, the dangers of Silicon Valley hubris, and the high cost of confusing data with understanding. 7,000 houses, 90 days, $500 million. That's what happens when robots try to play Monopoly with real money.
If this story of algorithmic overconfidence and spectacular failure intrigued you, remember to share this video, like, and subscribe for more. Also, check out these related videos. WeWork, when $47 billion vanished in 6 weeks. FTX, the crypto exchange stealing billions while you slept. The next time someone tells you AI will revolutionize an industry, ask them if they've heard about Zillow Offers. Sometimes the algorithm isn't smarter than humans. Sometimes it's just more expensive to be wrong.